I have my hibiscus tea, G for guy, and I'm ready to talk about some controversial topics. So every 2 weeks out of the month, I basically get insane. And I'm not saying that in like a derogatory way to anyone who experiences insanity, right? I mean that like literally I become mentally unwell, and I'm not alone in this. In fact, it's not even very rare. If you're hearing me say this and you're thinking to yourself, wait, me too, then this video is most likely for you. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to my channel. I am Leeor Alexandra, and if you're new, it's nice to meet you. Welcome to the V community. On this channel, we talk about spirituality, self-development, law of attraction, and so much more. And today I'm going to talk about something that has been highly requested. I'm going to talk about PMDD, pre-menstrual dysphoric disorder, something that I suffer from and that, according to my messages and comments, a lot of you do too. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you can know if you might have PMDD, instances of dysphoria I've experienced, the things I've done to alleviate my PMDD and to manage it, spiritual reasons why I believe it happens, and what I've discovered has worked and has not worked. So I want you to understand that I'm still going through this journey. I have not seen the light at the end of the tunnel just yet, but I'm heading towards there. So I'm speaking from my own experience. I'm just getting better every cycle, but I do want you to know that you're not alone. We're going through this together, and we don't have to feel like this forever. We will heal. This is our healing journey. We're going through it together. So it's time to share, right? It's time to center this conversation, because I've been asked repeatedly to make this video, but I honestly wasn't sure if it's necessary, if I need to do it. But then the other day, I was watching videos on PMDD, and I happened to scroll through the comments, and I saw all these women sharing their experiences, and I started sobbing because I had never felt so seen and so validated. Like, wow, I'm really not alone. These women are experiencing the same things that I've experienced for the last 18 years. Every 2 weeks, 2 weeks out of every month. Why aren't we talking about this? Why is this not, one of the mental health issues that we're all taught in school? We need to center this conversation, and I want people to know like how I felt through those comments. You're not alone. This is actually pretty common. Also, if you're a partner to a woman with PMDD, this will help you to understand it a lot better. So a little disclaimer, PMDD is classified as an actual mental health issue. So it's really belittling when it is like conflated with simply PMS. PMS is also not the most fun thing, but the huge distinction between PMS and PMDD, and what makes PMDD a mental illness, is that it comes with anxiety, depression, panic attacks, and suicidal ideations. So this video is my personal experience with PMDD. I'll just be sharing what I've gone through. I'm also going to be talking about suicide as a symptom. So if that's triggering to you, then maybe this isn't the best video for you to watch right now. It's not in detail, just a symptom. Also, I didn't go over all the things I've tried to cure and to heal my PMDD, but trust me, I've done a lot. So I know that a lot of people want to share and want to help and want to give their experience, but I just ask you to do it as lovingly as possible, because chances are I have tried what you will share with me, but I'm always open to hearing recommendations. I'm doing breath work, meditation, and these things of course have improved it, but they've not completely made it go away. So I just asked that in the comments that we don't do any like, well, why don't you meditate it away? And why don't you manifest it away? This is a part of my journey here. This is something that I chose as a soul contract to go through in my life. I've been going through it for 18 years now, and this is my journey, right? We all have our own journey with things. So a little background on my journey with PMDD. I've had it since I was 12 years old. I was officially diagnosed at 14. I was put on birth control to try to stop it. And then I was on birth control for 9 years after that for the PMDD. It didn't help. I had to eventually get on antidepressants 2 rounds of antidepressants. Talk about that more soon. PMDD will affect you physically. It does include really bad cramps and body pain. For me, it was on and off with the body pain. The body pain comes more with the resistance, which I'll talk about later as well. But mostly, what I think is more importantly, PMDD is going to affect us mentally. And I suffered with debilitating depression and chronic fatigue and bouts of anxiety as well. I've dealt with suicidal ideation since I was 12 years old. When I was younger, I made several attempts at my life which I know will be hard for a lot of people hearing this video to know, but that's a part of my story. It's something I can't shy away from. I can't be afraid to talk about it. I still work through suicidal ideations even now at 30 years old. However, I'm aware now that it's not me that wants to hurt myself. It is this thing that takes over my body basically every 2 weeks. I'm far past the days of attempting any sort of self-harm, and this is a part of me. During these 2 weeks, I am devoid of any energy, motivation. I become apathetic, hopeless, confused. I don't understand or see a point to anything. And there's like a dark cloud of dysphoria which moves over my consciousness, and I can't see straight. I learned when I was younger from a friend's mom to never make decisions on my period. And that was actually advice that I stuck to. I think it's honestly saved me many times. Anybody with PMDD will tell you we don't make the wisest, most rational decisions during this time. So I think that sticking to that advice really did help me. I'm grateful for her. Shout out to Lori. The dysphoria isn't something that I've really seen so many people talking about, but I have seen the conversations about it in the comments, and some of you might be interested to understand how it shows up. If you suffer from this or have someone you love who does, depending on where this person falls on the spectrum of PMDD, they might experience something like me, which I sometimes will not see things as they are. You know, like I've had times when I believed a very well-meaning boyfriend in the past actually had a plan to ruin me. And I truly believe that he was secretly against me. Also, this video is making me completely unemployable. So thank you so much for supporting my amulets. I love you. Sometimes even now, even though I have this fiance that I'm literally head over heels in love with, and he's the best person I've ever met in my life, I'll sometimes get a little paranoid and I'll start believing the worst. And then I remember, wait, no, it's gotten better since I've done the acupuncture. We'll talk about that. But yeah, it makes you not see things clearly. At the worst of my PMDD, at the height of it, I had paranoid delusions where I literally thought that I was being spied on or people in my life were acting as caretakers. This is really embarrassing to admit, to be honest, as I'm recording this, but it is what it is. I've chosen to put my life openly for people to feel less alone. And I know that if I had somebody talking about these things and I was like, oh my God, this is what I've experienced in the past also, I would feel a lot better. So I'm sharing it. You get this influx of intrusive thoughts and you feel like it'll never get better. And you always feel this way. You feel like nothing matters and, you know, I'll always feel this way and how am I gonna make it out of this? And then your bleed comes and eventually you start to feel normal again, and I'm who I am now, which is myself, which is a person who really has her head on the right way, who's really glass half full, who loves life. I love life and I'm a genuinely really happy and fulfilled person, but I forget all that. The issue is that I only get to really be myself for 2 weeks out of the month, and then I have to deal with this again. Now I'm a lot better. I'm able to talk about this now only because I am deep through my healing journey and I'm much, much better now. But this got really in the way of my life more than it hasn't, right? For 18 years. I want to acknowledge that I know how privileged I am, because right now the way that my life is set up is that my only responsibilities are really me and Jupiter and, you know, Guy's heart, of course. I'm so privileged because I can work on myself during those 2 weeks. I can sleep as much as I need during those 2 weeks. And I empathize so much with women who can't, with women who have families to take care of, who have jobs, if not 2 jobs, if not 3 jobs, who have school. I used to go to school 5 days a week. I'd commute 2 hours, 3 hours a day to go to school, back and forth, and I had 2 jobs and I would deal with these things. I have also been in situations where I've been with partners who did not understand and who were not supportive and who brought out the worst in me during these times. So I empathize with that, and I know that not being in ideal situations makes this so much harder. Even now, where I'm at now, where I do have this sort of freedom and I do have a partner and family and friends who really do their best to be there for me and support me and understand me, even now, it's debilitating. It's so difficult. So I've been where you've been and I'm in a better situation now. And ultimately what needs to happen is we need to prioritize this healing in our health and our well-being. I was asked if I went on birth control. So yes, I was on birth control at 14. It didn't work. I was on 2 bouts of antidepressants, anti-anxieties. They too did not work. I was able to live because of that. But something that I did when I was younger, yes, my love, is I should not have been drinking with the pills that I was on. But alas, young and misguided, I would drink. And in those moments, I would get really, really low. I do believe that alcohol and PMDD, people who suffer from dysphoria, is one of the worst combinations that we could possibly attempt to experience. I want to talk about spiritual causes, why I think this happens to us spiritually. I strongly believe that in those 10 to 4 days of PMDD and your period, this is all the things that we didn't process emotionally in the weeks prior to this experience kind of get amplified and have to be processed in this really chaotic way during the PMDD. I also believe it might be some sort of a disconnection from the feminine, maybe something that's inherited. You feel like you need to protect yourself, maybe from, some of us have suffered from sexual abuse or from trauma or from disease or something, and it's some sort of protection mechanism that is inverted outwards, right? I also believe that people with PMDD are some of the most intuitive and psychic people, and that our society isn't set up to handle that. And so our talents and our gifts are turned backwards on us, inwards on us, and somehow come out and are expressed in this negative way. I think that if we still had the red tents and we lived in communities where women raised children together and helped each other, we would see a lot less of this pain that we go through. But this is just not the case in modernity. Jupiter found something in the closet and hopped away with it. I think it's also repressed emotions, repressed trauma. That's why anybody who suffers from PMDD, shadow work is a must for us, even more so than most people. When I began doing shadow work about 4 years ago, that really, really helped with my symptoms and with my understanding of what I was going through. We cannot keep repressing. Trauma is held in the body, it's carried in the body, and it's expressed through the PMDD. We're also constantly overwhelmed by stimulation and by stress. So our nervous system is overworked and progesterone is out of whack. This is a spiritual and a physical reason for PMDD. Now, something that's really important, I'm going to talk more about this in the next section, but resisting ourselves will cause this. Resisting something within us, resisting what we're feeling. The worse we feel, the more we resist, and the more we resist, the worse we feel. So that's another spiritual reason for PMDD. The last one that I've kind of picked up on is collective and generational trauma. Intuitively, I feel that women who suffer from PMDD are being called upon to transcend and to transmute generational and collective trauma hidden in the depths of the collective unconscious. We are the healers. And if we can find careers and work in the healing arts and the healing fields, we will thrive there much more than we would in many other types of careers. So I want to talk about what has not worked for me in my journey of healing PMDD. The first is, for obvious reasons, alcohol and drinking. It exasperates it and it makes it worse. If you're like me and you like to have a drink with dinner, I know that this is a really difficult thing to hear. We're going to have to find a way to have a lifestyle that does not incorporate constant drinking, constant alcohol. Having a drink here and there will be fine. You want to make sure, especially if you experience PMDD, that 10 to 14 days before your period, you're staying sober. Another thing that didn't work for me is microdosing. This might surprise a lot of people who, like me, thought that our little mushroom helpers make everything better. I love microdosing, but it did not make my PMDD better, and I experimented with it a lot. I did 30 days at a time. I did in the time just during the PMDD. I did a week before. I did 5 days on, 2 days off. I did 2 days on, 5 days off. It did not help me. I also have not found any compelling literature, research, or studies that indicates that psilocybin would somehow impact or enhance or balance out hormones. So I don't think that it's just me. You guys might have anecdotal evidence out there for microdosing helping you, and I can't say that it has in the past helped in certain cycles, and other cycles it's made things worse. So I don't think that microdosing really helps. Another thing that didn't work that I experimented with a lot at actually the request of my doctor, my Western medicine doctor, allopathic, recommended me to try St. John's wort. She told me, get on the pill again. I said no. She said, get on mood stabilizers. I said no. Get back on antidepressants. I said no. So she's like, okay, St. John's wort. take it the week before your period. I tried taking it a week before my period. I tried taking it 2 weeks. I took it for a full month. I took it for 2 months. I took it for many months. St. John's wort is almost like natural herbal Adderall, okay? It also has a lot of negative side effects. It interacts with so many medications. I think it has like over 300 different medications, herbs, and supplements that it interacts badly with. I had a really negative effect with St. John's wort. It caused me to get into mania, a little light psychosis. I highly recommend really doing your research if you're going to start working with St. John's wort. I think for people who don't suffer with mental health issues at all, it's a really powerful herb to work with. If you do, it's probably not going to work for you. There are 2 cases that have shown people taking St. John's wort for an extended period of time and kind of losing their mind over to psychosis for a short period of time. So while St. John's wort is effective, especially if you have seasonal depression, when, winter depression is very common, if you have that and you don't have any other really debilitating mental health issues, St. John's wort might be for you. It wasn't for me personally. Another thing that didn't work for me, as you know by now, is birth control and antidepressants. They didn't work, and I think if anything, they just hid the problem. There was no healing to be found. Now, this is going to surprise a lot of you. This is going to be the first time that I talk about this on YouTube. But another thing that I did try is to reincorporate eggs and dairy into my diet. In 2021, I was relapsing into PMDD. I was so depressed. I could not see a way out of my illness. I could not function. And I worked with this allopathic Western doctor, and she recommended, okay, St. John's wort isn't working. I need you to try to eat eggs again. And so I did. I started to eat eggs again. And it's not something that I advertise outwardly. I didn't really talk about how I was eating anymore. I still mostly 90% of the time was eating vegan and plant-based, but I did start to have a little dairy and eggs because I needed to stay alive. I needed to fix what I was going through. And this was a really hard decision for me to make because I was vegan based on my moral and ethical values. However, I did not see any amelioration of my symptoms with the incorporation of eggs and dairy, and now I can't touch eggs again. Grosses me out. Knowing what I know about eggs in the industry, I just can't do it. I still will have dairy from time to time because that kind of seems to have helped a little bit. But the reason why I didn't talk about this in an open way on YouTube is because I'm still behind a plant-based lifestyle. I think ethically and spiritually, I think it does. To me, that's just my opinion, and I don't want to be purporting anything other than that. I've also been recommended to start eating animal-based products. I just don't think that I could ever do that again because of my ethics, because of my morals. And to be honest, before I was vegan, I still had PMDD. So I don't see how reincorporating animal products to my diet will fix that because I had it before. Now let's talk about what is working, okay? Because there is a lot of things that are working. Something that has helped me immensely and that I want to recommend to anybody who's thinking that they might have PMDD is tracking. It took me way too long to start to understand what was happening to me, and I want to share a method with you for you to track yourself and understand if you might be dealing with PMDD as well. So what you do is you keep a journal. Keep a daily journal of your moods and your thoughts for at least 2 months, but what I actually want you to do is 3 months, okay? It's better to do 3 months because there seems to be a pattern where every other month is worse with PMDD, likely because of which ovary is releasing the egg, because every other month we release an egg from the right or the left. So you can find out which ovary is affected more by the PMDD. I have noticed that 1 month is not as intense as the next month. Find awareness by looking at your thoughts, your mood, and see where it starts, where the negative thoughts start coming, where the depression starts coming. If you see that it's happening 10 to 14 days before your period, you might have PMDD. I noticed that since I was a teenager, the PMDD lengthened in time for me. It actually started with 7 days, and then eventually it became 10 days, and then 14 days. 14 days out of the month, I was a wreck, a mess. Okay, now that I'm doing acupuncture and taking the herbs from my acupuncturist, it's back down to 10 days. And what I've noticed, and it is getting a lot better, the 10th day is when the luteal phase, when we shift over to the luteal phase, of our hormonal cycle. And that's the day where I experienced the worst dysphoria. And I'm so aware and so in tune with my body at this point that I know the exact minute where I go from totally fine and totally balanced, and then suddenly estrogen and progesterone drop. In the very next minute, I am in dysphoria, mania, or depression. It's either or. So I can actually feel the very moment that my hormones drop out of balance and that I'm in this state. Now, what's really nice about acupuncture is that it seems as if with my herbs, that 10th day when the hormones go out of whack, that's the worst day. And then I kind of drift up, and instead of going super low like I used to, I'm closer to my baseline now. There's a little bit more irritation, which I think I prefer the irritation over the depression, but I also want to work through the irritation. We don't want to like live irritated. So that's something that I'm working on with my acupuncturist as well. So what I recommend is to use the apps, the cycle apps Clue and 28. This will help you to become really in tune with your body, and you're gonna notice exactly when your luteal phase begins, when that 10 days before your bleed is, and when your hormones start to drop and be out of alignment, right? Knowing yourself is truly half the battle, if not more, because it leads to self-acceptance, which really does make this journey easier on yourself because you're not constantly fighting yourself. So like I was saying, I do acupuncture and herbs, and this is really helping me. I don't know how long. My acupuncturist said that he doesn't know how long it'll take because it has been more than half my life that I've dealt with this, but it does seem like every cycle is getting a little bit better. It's still really tough. I'm still dealing with it, but it's getting better. It really is. You know, my acupuncturist is this lovely Korean man, and I trust him with my life. He got me through Bell's palsy, chronic fatigue, which was related to the PMDD. And now we're steadily working on this, and we're getting there. I personally do not believe in any pharmaceuticals. They didn't help me, nor do I believe that it would truly heal anyone's PMDD. Maybe it would mask symptoms, but that's about it. So I got off my birth control cold turkey, and thankfully I didn't experience any horrible issues, but I know that a lot of people do. I may have gotten a little bit of weight gain, but that's about it. But I do recommend getting the support of a hormone specialist or your doctor or an acupuncturist or some sort of guide to do this process in the right way. When it comes to getting off my antidepressants and anti-anxieties, I did it with the help of my psychiatrist over the course of several weeks. I think it may have been even 6 weeks to get off them fully, and I have not touched them since. Another thing that works for me is to eat cleanly. I noticed that on months where I'm eating more whole foods, less processed foods, less sugar, especially no added sugar, and no gluten because I'm really sensitive to gluten, these things do affect the severity of my dysphoria monthly. So diets are going to affect us all differently. I'm not 100% on which diet helps me. I'm still trying to figure that out. I'll update you guys when I become more clear on that. Self-acceptance through your healing journey. This is a game changer. This is just going to make things so much more easy on you. The worst thing I've done to myself throughout this difficult time is every month I resist the fatigue, I resist the lows, I resist the anxiety, I resist it all, and I don't want it to happen. I want to keep working, I want to keep moving forward, I want to keep exercising and socializing, I want to live my life normally, but I simply can't. And that resistance is translated into worse cramps and worse migraines and worse dysphoria. Our body just can't help that we're feeling like this. And when we don't honor it, when we don't give it what it needs, it screams at us to rest through pain. I have a lot more advice on how to get through PMDD. This video is a little bit long, so I'm going to cut it over here. I want to gauge your reaction to it and your feelings. Do you want a follow-up video? Do you want me to continue to talk about this? Has it helped you thus far? And are you dealing with PMDD? Thank you for listening. Thank you for spending some time with me and for allowing me to center this issue that's really close to my heart and that I really want to bring more attention to, because half the population is dealing with this. Most of us are dealing with this. This isn't rare. This is really common. Thank you for listening. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below if you want a part 2 with some more things that I do and more information on, how my partner helps me through my PMDD, how my family works through it. I have more I can talk about on this topic for sure. I love you so much. And until next time, keep your vibration way up. I love you. Bye.